Hello and welcome to the IMA podcast. Today our guest is Vivek Bhargava, a long-term friend of mine. Vivek, welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here, Shubho.
Let's start it a little softly with a little bit of background of what you've been doing for the last 20 years and how you got to today where you are. So I know that's going to take about an hour.
I was just about to say so, right? That may take more than an hour. So I'll tell you a little background about myself. I'm an entrepreneur.
Correct.
And that, in a way, was introduced to me at a very tender age of 8 years old. Mm-hmm. So I was sitting in my father's dinner table, and he said that, "Beta, do you know the difference between a job and entrepreneurship?" So I was 8 years old. I said, like building mein, I was thinking, when I get cricket, mein batting milegi nahi milegi. So I said no. So he said, you know what? If you are doing a job, you have to spend less than what you earn. Mm-hmm. If you become an entrepreneur, you can spend 1 crore rupees a day. You have to just make sure you earn more than 1 crore rupees a day. And I thought to myself at that age that, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. And I think that never left me. Even in college, I did something called Casio Digital Diary Backup, where in those days, 25 years ago, I was earning 25,000 rupees a month, which was equivalent of 20 lakh rupees per month today, which my daughter is earning today. And the fact of the matter is that gave me so much of confidence, because I may not have been the richest guy in Sydenham College, but I was the person with the most amount of cash flow for sure. And I think that has become, in a way, part of my DNA, that is reached a stage where entrepreneurship is not about making money. It's about enjoying the process of making money. So we were just talking earlier, right? It's not about making more money now. I love the joy. If somebody gives me $1 billion today and says, okay, Vivek, make this into 10 billion, but when you make it 10 billion, every single dollar will be taken away from you. You won't get a single rupee out of it. Okay. Right? I will take up that offer in a heartbeat. Because the process of making that 1 billion into 10 billion, the joy of creating that $9 billion of wealth is something that process will be extremely enjoyable, and I would love to do it.
So money drives your entrepreneurship? Is that a fair...
I was talking to Vishal Gondal the other day, right? And he mentioned something in one of the conversations we were doing, and it just made a lot of sense. He says, if you play a game, you need to have a score.
Correct.
You can't enjoy a sport if there is no score. So if you are an entrepreneur, money is your score. At some level, you want to play the game, you want to know whether you're winning or not.
Correct.
Otherwise, so it is not what you want to do with the money. As I said, right, if the entire money was taken away from me, but still the joy of creating wealth is going to be extremely enjoyable for me, and that's what I would love to do. But if there is no score, then how would you know you're winning? And you would not enjoy the sport as much if there was no score.
So entrepreneurship for you is like poker, which is your other passion.
I would say, I think at some level, I think the way I look at it, my biggest passion is table tennis rather than poker. Poker is something which I'm learning. Okay. I think poker is something which tells you a lot about people.
Correct.
And I think in the Silicon Valley, I was reading this blog where it said that a lot of entrepreneurs today and VCs are judging entrepreneurs based on their poker skills. Poker capabilities. Because it tells you that it teaches you so many things about, in a way, how a person looks at life. Are they aggressive when they need to be? Are they conservative about entrepreneurship? So when you're building a company, a lot of skills that, in a way, are needed. I think poker tells you whether you have the skills or not.
Money is one side. And you said that there has to be score. But do you not look at entrepreneurship from the social impact lens? How many people you're impacting? How many people your product or your services is impacting?
So a lot of people may have a lens of people they're impacting. I think for me, the lens is what is the problem I'm solving. And if that problem can solve something which will make billions of people more employable, or create trillions of dollars of wealth, or help companies reduce wastage. So basically what happens is, let's say right now, what we are working in consumer AI is, we want to predict human behavior. We want to become so accurate that we can predict actual human behavior. Now this prediction can help you obviously in marketing, advertising, creative content creation, but it can actually help you understand citizens better and provide them with better policy. It can help you understand consumer behavior and based on that build products that they will use on a day-to-day basis. It will solve like millions of problems that the entire population of the world is facing. So like, if you do something, how do you make people more sustainability conscious? Not only at one level predict human behavior, but also act like a catalyst in changing that human behavior. So, you know,
I first met you when you started your agency, which was focused on search, I
Yes,
believe, at the
yes,
beginning.
yes.
Then, of course, you had a very successful exit and all of that. Let me take you back to that time because I don't know about your entrepreneurship capabilities before that.
True.
So let's go back to the agency days.
Okay.
And let's go back to the search. What was the context and what was the problem that you solved?
Okay. So I'll give you a little even bigger, a slightly more background on that. So I had gone traveling with my father, and we were in US, and he said to me that our family business is like chalti bus mein koi bhi baith sakta hai. So you need to do something of your own if you want to create something which is substantial. And those days, I found in US that people were using technology for improving their marketing, communication, and advertising, and that was a big lacuna area in the Indian corporate sector. So I came back to start a digital marketing agency way back in 1997.
Okay.
And if you look back at that time, there were hardly any internet users in the country. So starting a digital marketing agency was not the best idea. But what we did was, the first few years, we were making CD-ROMs for corporates.
Okay.
So we would take a brochure of a company, put a CD-ROM in the brochure, and once you put the CD-ROM in, we tell the corporate that now your digital transformation is complete.
That was the highest level of digital transformation at that time, right?
So that's what we did. We did for Chandrababu Naidu, we did it for Ban when they launched in India, etc. Then what happened was, I discovered search. And what I liked and loved about search was that it gave you this power to target intent of a user. If you're thinking of a washing machine, I could see an ad of a washing machine. If you're thinking of travel, I could see an ad of a travel, which is not possible in television and other forms of advertising. Second thing, what it did was that Unilever were getting 80% discount on television ads because they were buying volume. Google democratized pricing. They made it auction based. So this ability to target intent and auction, I felt that this is going to grow from X to 100X. And that's what exactly happened, right? Google advertising grew from X to 100X, and we were the largest agency in the country. And I think as some level, I believed as an entrepreneur that you have to be like a postage stamp. You stick to one thing till the time it gets there. So I stuck to that one thing till it got there, and that got there was when Dentsu acquired us. iProspect was the largest search agency globally.
Correct.
And then we joined iProspect through Dentsu. And then what we did was, I worked in Dentsu for 8 years, acquiring multiple agencies for them. So we acquired Socrates Merkel, SVG Media, etc., and built almost like a 1,200 people digital marketing team, and all focused on performance. So I believe that, you know, that when you deliver performance, then it's almost you're taking the advertising expense and shifting it from a P&L account and taking it to the balance sheet, because it becomes a cost of sale. So you don't need to have a budget. If I can deliver you revenues, then you don't mind spending $1 billion a day, as long as I can give you revenues which is more than your margin. So that's what really attracted me towards performance, and I spent almost 8 years in building the largest performance team in India, which was 3 times the size of the second largest performance team.
So this was turning marketing upside down, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to have budget.
You don't need to have
You're
budget.
getting revenues, so you can spend unlimited amount.
Exactly.
As long as the revenues are coming.
Exactly.
I will just elaborate a little bit on that, because this story people don't understand, in the sense that search gives you intent,
Yeah.
and therefore it turns the market upside down.
Yeah. So I'll give you 2 lenses of this, Shubho. The first lens is that if you have an established product, it's been there for long, and then what happens is, when you make an investment, if your margin is 100 and your cost of acquisition is less than 100, you have infinite budget. Because and especially in new industries where production can be infinitely scaled, there is a significantly large opportunity in this. The challenge is that sometimes it takes time before you can create that funnel. So what happens is that if God created an advertising plan, the funnel would look like a pipe. This is my own quote, by the way. Right? Because you would know exactly the person who's going to buy, and you would only reach out to that person. But unfortunately, what happens is that you need to reach out to a slightly larger audience, and then that funnel leads to a sale. So in the initial years, I think the mistake that I made in the performance agency is that there has to be also some kind of brand advertising or creating the funnel.
I was just coming to
Right?
that.
So basically what happens is, it has to be a combination. What that combination is is something which you need to discover. But what happens is that over a period of time, when you create a funnel, you'll find these different pipes in that funnel. So once you identify that pipe, so let's say we found a pipe called fingernails as an interest for a CGM product called Dexcom. So now what happens is a CGM product generally people use for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but type 1 diabetics use it for 10, 20, 30 years. So lifetime value for a type 1 or juvenile diabetes person is 200x of a normal lifetime value of a CGM user. So because we found this human nail or fingernail as an interest, because the first sign of jaundice of type 1 diabetes is jaundice or yellow nails, this became one pipe. So the goal of a brand should be, can I find these 100 different pipes where each pipe, the lifetime value of the customer is significantly larger than the others, and that then can become a part of performance. But in order to find those 100 pipes, you may have to build a funnel. That's how you discover fingernails is an interest that will give you value. So it has to be a combination, it has to be a virtuous flywheel where you do activities that expand the funnel, and then you find pipes in those funnels, and then you invest more monies into those pipes. So over a period of time, your funnel is made up of thousands of pipes.
So you've somewhat preempted my next question, which was going to be, having spent most of your brains, and earned most of your scoring on performance marketing, what is the value of brand building on internet? This is an old debate, right? That internet is not good for brand building.
So what happened was the internet started, Google is the one who, in a way, made digital advertising what it is today.
Correct.
So what they did was, okay, we'll target intent, we will do democratizing of advertising, and we'll give these text ads that will help people buy things. So it was not good for brand building because of two reasons. One reason was there was no equivalent of a full page print ad or a 30-second Super Bowl commercial in the field of digital advertising. Secondly, in order to do brand building, you need to show the same person the same ad multiple times, right? So then in print they say the frequency of 8, right? So you have to show the same person the ad 8 times before he remembers the ad. It wasn't possible in digital, and that's the reason the early days of digital, brand building on digital was more difficult. Then what happened in the last 10 years is, right, the first thing happened was remarketing came in and technologies came in that I could show Shubho the same ad 10 times and I could control it. So frequency came in. Because of that, half the problem that of brand building which digital was not solving earlier was solved. Secondly, what happened was that people realized that the brand building does not need to be done on the ad unit, it can be done on the destination. So what happens is that if I click on an ad of a car, it takes me to a page where I can now rotate the car, I can see under the hood, I can see the colors, I can change the hub of the car, I can do a lot of things around with it, which is engaging with that product, and at some level brand building is happening. So now what happened was the destination was substantially more powerful than the TV ad. The ad was not as powerful as the TV ad, right? So what happened was that once you start looking at and measuring, and because you were charged only on the click, basically what happened was, because of that, digital today has become substantially better platform for brand building. Because what it does is that if you just take India, there are 1.4 billion, 1.2 billion people. Out of that, how many people can actually afford to buy a car in the next 5 years? Not more than 50 million people, right? So now what happens is you don't need to build a brand with 1.4 billion people. You need to build a brand with 50 million people or 100 million people. So that's less than 1/10 of the population. So digital is a very, very powerful platform for brand building, because it allows you to reach only those 100 million people, out of which 50 million can afford your product in the next 5 years, and probably only 10 million can afford in this year. And now it has this ability to create a larger than life sort of communication. So you can have AR, you can have VR, you can have rotation, you can have 3D, you can have changing of colors, a lot of things that you need to build a brand from an engagement point of view, which digital could not offer with the text ads that Google was doing 20 years ago, has changed. So I think today digital has the reach, has the ability to target intent, it has democratized pricing based on click, it has remarketing and frequency, and it has the power to engage, and that's only becoming better. So now with Meta glasses, with VR, with that Vision Pro, you are now be able to engage with products which are larger than life.
So two quick follow-ups on this, and I know I'm asking about your past life.
Yeah, yeah.
But one is, has the creative community kept pace with the developments that you mentioned? A, and B, has the hygiene factor improved? Because there are a lot of questions in the past that have been raised about the numbers, about bots and all of that. So where are we on the creative community preparedness and on the hygiene factors of digital?
I'll cover the hygiene factor first. So I think generally what happens is that when you have a company like Google, which is a few $1 trillion in market cap, and Meta, which is again the similar, what happens is that if the efficiency of advertising dropped below a certain level, people will stop advertising. And because they would stop advertising, these companies would use $1 trillion of market cap. So because of that, even if 10% of bot are basically clicking on ads, and let's put it, there's a 10% inefficiency, in spite of that 10% inefficiencies, Google and Meta still deliver most amount of ROI from an advertising point of view, right? Because today, if I ask you, you came from home or from the airport, tell me 5 outdoors that you saw. You crossed something like 50, 100, 200, 500 outdoors. You don't remember 5 of them. So that means the inefficiency of outdoor is more than 10%, right? So the fact of the matter is that it is still the most powerful platform from advertising in spite of inefficiencies. And what has happened is that because these companies have more money to put in, earlier days there used to be a lot of affiliates, you sit on the beach, do bought things and make money. All of them out of jobs, right? They are not able to get enough money. So they can create some inefficiencies, but it's so minuscule. And what happens is that as soon as it becomes larger, somebody like Google or Meta finds the technology and just stops it. So basically what happens is because of that, because their entire livelihood and market cap is dependent on the efficiency of advertising, it can never fall below a certain level, right? On the creative part of it, I think there is a big challenge. So what is happening is that earlier you would make one creative that would go to billions of people.
Correct.
So the creative person had to find this insight and come out with this thought and then come out with the thing. So har ek ghar kuch kehta hai, or you can just do it, or you came out with these things on safety and Volvo. Unfortunately, now the challenge is that you're talking about 1.2 billion people. So let's say, I'll give you an example. If you want to buy a Toyota Corolla and your net worth is 200 crore rupees, it's a value for money car, right? But if your net worth is 2 crore rupees, it's an aspiration status symbol car. Because 2 crores mein se you'll spend first money on the house. So before you buy a Toyota Corolla, so now what happens is when you're communicating with me, the way you position, right? I may end up still buying a Toyota Corolla because I want to send my kid to school in a Toyota Corolla and not take my Jag. Right? Because at the end of the day, I'm squirmish about sending a good car to like school. But for somebody else, it's a status symbol. He will not send a Toyota Corolla to the school. He'll send his Hyundai to the school or a Santro to the school because he feels that this is like flashy hair. So now what happens is the way you communicate with people has to change based on who they are. So I'll give you an example, right? 40 years ago, Tom and Jerry cartoon banta tha.
Correct.
Okay. 500 people were drawing each screen and 30 screens or 30 frames would make 1 second and that's how they would do it. Today, one person on a computer can make Tom and Jerry. But we don't make a Tom and Jerry. We make Shrek. Shrek still requires 500 people. The problem is the creative guys, they are thinking that they can get away with Tom and Jerry. They can't. So, people who are going to lose jobs to AI is not going to take their jobs. Is people who don't compete, the humans are going to take their job who can utilize the AI more effectively. The best chess players in the world, Shubho, are actually not computers or AI or humans. They have a term called centaurs.
Okay.
Centaur is a team of human chess players, AI chess players. They come together and they beat any individual human and any individual AI. So basically what's going to happen is that every single creative person, they need to have a co-pilot, which is in a way AI. We platform like consumer AI, because what we're doing is we are able to unpack millions of consumer cohorts and tell you this consumer cohorts will evaluate your advertising individually and tell you how to improve the advertising. And then the creative person has to come up with this thought and then implement it into 100 variations based on the consumer you're reaching out to. The city you're reaching out to, the net worth they're reaching out to, the gender you're reaching out to, the age you're reaching out to, all the possible permutation combination if you really want your advertising to succeed. So a lot of creative people, they still feel that they're communicating one creative to a billion people, and they're going to find it very difficult to deliver value to the brand they're working for.
So now I come to Vivek Bhargava version 3 according to me, but maybe 5 according to you, which is what you're doing now. And again, the basic premise remains the same of your entrepreneurship, which is understanding human behavior better and better and better. Am I right in making that statement?
In a way, yes. Earlier, what I was doing was I was trying to understand human behavior and using it to improve advertising.
Correct.
Now I'm trying to understand human behavior to predict future behavior and to improve every single consumer-facing decision. So basically, the ambition has become larger, right? So basically, if you ask me, right, what is the biggest challenge that AI has solved for companies like us? There are about 3.5 billion internet users in the world across 150 plus countries. What the world is thinking, Google knows, because the closest man has come to creating a mind reading machine, right? Because you type something in Google, that's what you're thinking right now. What the world is doing, behavior, Meta is capturing, social media like TikTok and Snap is capturing. What people are buying at certain level, Amazon is capturing. What people are watching, YouTube is capturing.
Correct.
What people are saying, Twitter and blogs are capturing. What people are listening, Spotify is capturing. What if we could connect to these 13 platforms through the official APIs? Connect all this actual human behavior across 3.5 billion users. Now what happens is AI allows us to take these trillions of signals and convert them into predicting human behavior. So now what happens is that's what we are doing as a company, right? Because what we can do is we can create a cohort of 65 plus women entrepreneurs living in Lucknow and predict how they will react to a stimuli. So advertising communication is the first part of it, but what happens is if you want to convince them to become an insurance agent, like Birla Capital is a client. So very interesting story. We created an insurance agent, a women insurance agent. We asked her the question that would you be comfortable visiting a male prospect's house in the evening around 7 p.m. She's living in Lucknow, right? So she said, actually, I'm okay with it, right? I know what I've signed up for. This is what the requirement of an insurance agent is. So we have this reflective mode in our platform where you can tell that person to share their innermost fears and wear that hat when they're sharing it. So when you put her in the reflective mode, she said, actually, I'm not comfortable. I would like my husband to accompany me. However, he should request to accompany me and I should say yes. He should not insist on coming with me. So I was like, I got goosebumps just thinking about that. And I said like, dude, are you kidding me? This is the answer that she gave. And then we can ask her more questions. We asked her that why. She says, I've become an insurance agent to become independent. If my husband insists on coming for all the meetings, then how will I get independence? So now what happened was suddenly everybody in the room was quiet and they suddenly realized, you know what, we need to sell and persuade women to become insurance agent, and our positioning should be for your freedom.
Now, it sounds a little scary to me in the sense that the way you explained that there are 13 platforms, they are monitoring our actions, our thoughts, our behavior, our purchasing, I don't know what else. And if you aggregate them, the intelligence that you are able to gather, can go southwards very soon. But what are you currently focusing on? What is it that, that is where I come back to this social impact thing that I raised earlier.
So, Shubha, when I started this company now, but before that also 25 years ago, I always believed this one thing, that when you hear about a technology like ours or even Google, right? When you hear it as a marketing person, it's very exciting. When you hear the consumer, it scares the shit out of you.
Absolutely.
Right? At the end of the day. But having said that, imagine a world where people did not recognize you. Right? So what happened is that you go to a restaurant and the person doesn't let you enter in even though you can afford the food. Nobody can recognize you in a bank. Every single product that they're trying to sell you is 1,000 crore rupee house. And if you can't afford it, or selling you a 5 lakh rupees house with a shanty which you would not want to live in. So the fact of the matter is that knowledge about us as consumers allows the world to sell the right products, the right services, the right communication to us, and improves our life. So my belief is that the way our platform works and most platforms work, right, it is never done individually as show. So now what happens is, if something that an 8-year-old can do, right, if I'm trying to sell that product to you, it will be a waste of time for you.
Absolutely.
Right? A 22-year-old is lifting weights and doing a certain exercise which a 45 plus person cannot do, you and me cannot do. Then if you keep on forcing that ad down my throat, right, I'm going to get frustrated with it. So my belief is, knowing consumers allows you to offer them more appropriate services, products, that the chances of they will buy or use, they'll not feel bad about it, right? So if you keep on selling me $100 million yacht and $1 billion yacht which I can't afford, after a while I'll say like, what the heck is happening? So my belief is that if you're doing something on a cohort level, which we do, I think to a certain extent the governments, GDPR, CCPA, all this has ensured that we're not doing something which is invasive to privacy. But the fact of the matter is, banks know what your bank account thing is. They are selling you a product based on how much balance you have, how much balance you keep. There are so many other entities in the world who have a lot more personal information about you on a one-to-one basis. So my thinking is about advertisers, right? The information they have is 1/100th of what the bank has about you, and what they're using that. The bank intelligence departments, they use that information to do a lot of things, which is far worse what an advertising publisher can do. So my thinking is that there are enough privacy issues that the government, GDPR, CCPA is taking care of. I think if you give me a choice of nobody having any information about me, and I see random stuff on the internet in terms of ads, I'll prefer the current world a lot more, where at least they have basic information about me. So what they're showing me, whether it's ads or services, etc., are useful to me. Just imagine Google today without any ads. I think it would be worse off Google.
No, I was not scared of that part, Vivek.
Yeah.
The part that scares me is what else others can do in terms of beneficial aspects. For example, policy making.
Yeah.
You know, we lack data, therefore we lack evidence to come out with good policies.
Yeah.
You know, and we do not even know how bad or good our policies are because we don't have this data. So I was talking about the other use cases for targeted marketing and sales. Absolutely fabulous. That's fine. And you're correct in mentioning that, you know, people should know what I want. Only then they can sell me what I want.
Yeah.
So
I think this is a very,
beyond that, I'm talking about a larger, you know.
so this is actually a big opportunity. So
and you are a person who does things on scales.
Yeah. So this is exactly what one of the things we would like to do, solve long term, is that can we help? So there is a consulting organization, I won't name, they help governments and guide them and consult them on policy making. So they work with a lot of African governments, etc., 35, 40 countries they work with. So one of the ideas we're discussing was that we can create AI twins of the citizens. So people who are young entrepreneurs, people who are women entrepreneurs, people who are silver-haired entrepreneurs, people who are farmers, people who are professionals, doctors, nurses, etc. And once you create these twins,
so you can
what you can
cohort
do is,
basically.
yeah, you can create this cohort and then convert them based on their consumption and all the 13 platforms, create them into something called an AI twin. So what happens is, this is a twin of women entrepreneurs who are 50 plus. So now this cohort is being created based on what they're searching, what they're consuming, what they're buying, what they're seeing, what they're listening, what they're watching, what they're seeing, all these things. And now what happens is, you can actually ask them, what are the challenges you face? So let me take an example of Singapore. Last time I was there, I saw this 80-year-old man lifting up my bag and trying to put it into the taxi, because 80 plus people are now driving taxis in Singapore. So now what I thought to myself, I said, like, you know what, if somebody would ask this question, how can we improve your life? And what if we said, there should be this machine that comes out of the car, you put the bag in and it just goes in.
It's like a lift.
Right, it's a lift, right? And that would change my life, because then what happens is, as I grow older, because I don't want the customer to pick up his bag and put it in the taxi, but I'm sooner or later going to lose the ability to do so, but I don't want to lose my opportunity to drive the car. So now what happens is, you could actually create a twin of an 80-year-old taxi driver and ask them what are the things you can do, and if we are able to figure out this one solution, then what happens is, you can implement the solution. And then you can do, after 3 months, one more study, or after 1 month, one more study. So what happens is, the biggest challenge policymakers face is that they have this 5 years in which they make policy.
Correct.
But they don't get any measurement back. So they don't know what they have to compound, what they have to implement. But now what happens is a platform like ours allows you to create twins of your citizens, create policy, query the twins, what the impact of the policy has been, again tweak it, improve the policy, improve the policy. So the compounding effect of that policy over a 5-year period will be so phenomenal that you will actually transform the country, you will transform the life of that farmer, transform the life of the nurse, transform the life of the taxi driver, life of the entrepreneur. So I feel that this is where the biggest opportunity is. That can we help, governments who are making these accelerator programs for entrepreneurs? How can we give these entrepreneurs research so that they can build better products, better websites, better services, which right now they don't have a clue. So we have actually a product called Maven, which what it does is it's vibe coding for market research. So like how you have Lovable, Replit, Emergent of the world, you can put a 5-line prompt and create the 30-page research with quant research. So what happens is if you're an entrepreneur, you're building a website or you're building an app, I will exactly tell you what you should build in the app, what features you should have. If you have 5 features, which should you prioritize, which should you not prioritize. So imagine the amount of money the entrepreneurs will save if they can test before doing it. Before failing, they know what the chances of what failing is higher in this and failing is lesser in this. So this is what our vision is, that can we reduce wastage of decision making? If we can improve consumer facing decision making globally, imagine the amount of wastage we can save of a lot of decisions people have taken in the world.
I am more interested in calling the consumer citizen. That's where public policy decisions are made,
Yes.
for the citizen, not for the consumer.
I agree.
We have lived through, the age of internet and then the age of data. And now we have arrived at the age of AI, which is now a more complicated version of internet and digital combined,
Yeah.
which gives you intelligence. Some of the positive bits you mentioned, but what are the few other positive bits in enabling the consumer and enabling the citizen, and some of the negative fallouts that you see and how we should manage them?
I think the positive bits are across every single sector. So I think the multiplier effect of it is that most technologies improve one thing. So if you take steam engines, improve transportation.
Correct.
Today what is happening is one technology is improving everything. So you have driverless cars, it will improve so many things. It will create more real estate in the cities, it will create more time for people, more time for entertainment. A lot of things will happen with it's just on transportation. It creates a multiplier effect for tens of things. The other thing is AI is being exponential, so 1 becomes 2 becomes 4 becomes 8. So the multiplier effect of it grows exponentially, and that's the reason Amara law states that people overestimate the impact of technology in the short run, but underestimate in the longer run. And I think that's the thing is, I think the negative aspect of it, my challenge is that humans need to do more in order to stay relevant. So as I gave an example of Shrek, if you use AI to continue doing Tom and Jerry and not make Shrek, you will lose your relevance. So the problem is that if I'm doing X today and now I continue doing X, I will lose my job, I will lose my livelihood. If AI is enabling me to do 100X, then I need to do 100X. But a lot of people are not doing it. They're thinking, I should do X. Now AI has come in, I can do that X faster. That's not the way you should look at it. So I think, but I think that has always been the case, right? There was a very interesting article which I read recently. It was an article where, so you take humanity in general, last few thousand years, right? Most people in humanity were ordinary people.
Correct.
You had some exceptions like Henry Ford, but all his workers who were putting nuts and bolts, for 50 years they were just fixing nuts and bolts. Unfortunately, what has happened is today, look at humanity today, right? Today, if I have a grandkid, I know that the grandkid will have to learn piano, will have to learn tennis, will have to do this, will have to do tuition. I am expecting every single person in the world to become extraordinary. But if everybody becomes extraordinary, then that extraordinary is ordinary.
Correct.
Right? So the challenge is that how much multiplier is AI going to create, and how extraordinary do I need to be in order to be truly extraordinary.
Yeah,
because everybody can't be extraordinary, right? So it's a very interesting thing that how is humanity going to cope up with this need where everybody needs to be extraordinary?
You mentioned your late father as one of the primary inspirations in your life. Have you learned anything from the younger generation?
Yeah,
Because one way to stay young forever is to learn from the younger generation, right?
yeah. So I think at some level, I learn a lot from my daughter. So she's a content creator. She obviously has 1.34 million followers, and obviously she makes more money than most 22-year-olds make. But I think her ability to use money as a means to an end rather than an end by itself, I think is something that I've learned from her. Secondly, what I've seen is that I think they are very sensitive about the world. So like, I would say that whether it's sustainability, whether it's, वो बोलते ना, वो काले को काला मत बोलो, चीनी को चीनी मत बोलो. So their whole sensitivity towards minorities in terms of whether it's body shaming or whether it's money shaming, whatever, X, Y, Z, I think they're more open about the world. So, at some level, I should think I'm a pretty open guy in terms of acceptance of everything under the sun. But I've realized that the younger generation are far more open than what I would ever be. And I think that I can learn a lot from them. I think I've changed as a person where it's just not saying it. I've consciously begun to empathize with every single human being, regardless of what gender they come from, what country they come from, what affluence they come from. And I think to a certain extent, I think this I've learned from my daughter.
Vivek, on that note, thank you very much for talking to me.
My pleasure.